Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast. And today I am so excited for you to meet Emily Guerra. She is a productivity life coach, and she created the Productivity Flow to help other self-employed women overcome mindset hurdles and really enable them to excel to their fullest potential. She shares tactics and tools that she's personally used, as well as to help kind of overcome that self-sabotage and just create a more fulfilled and balanced work from home life. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
And I know that was a very brief intro, but you have such just a journey and a story that brought you here. So I would love for you to dive into that a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been a windy road to get here. I originally was going to be a wedding planner, actually, and that was what I was doing all throughout high school and college. And then I graduated college right into the pandemic, so in 2020. And obviously, weddings were not happening in 2020. So, in order to find work and start making some money and start living my life, I decided to pivot and I started freelancing out social media services. And through that experience and working with my clients, I realized how inaccurate of a view society has about productivity because it's really not inclusive of mental health, mindset, and personal best practices and self-care practices that really help people actually be productive. And so I took a focus with my clients, my social media freelancing clients, and tried to really help them boost their own productivity. And through that journey, I decided to start the Productivity Flow, which is my one-on-one productivity life coaching business, blog, and online course. So it's definitely been not your traditional trajectory to get here, but I think what I do really embodies who I am, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's awesome. And yeah, it's amazing. So sometimes we think we've got one destination in sight as far as where we're going. And then all of a sudden the universe and the world kind of gives us a different direction. Like, nope, you're going this way.
Exactly. And that is totally what COVID did to me. And at first, I didn't want to hear it. I was like, no, I'm going to wait till weddings come around and wait. And then I kept waiting and I kept waiting, and lockdown just seemed to never end at that time. So I decided to take back my power and my control. And that's, I think, what also just sparked my productivity journey too, because it was like, how can I be productive without a job, without, how can I make my life still productive? So it was definitely a journey that I am super grateful for.
Yeah. And there were two things that you've said that you got me thinking of a couple of questions. The first one is, how many times do you feel like people confuse busy and productive? I know a lot of the women I work with, sometimes they list all these activities and things, but it doesn't actually move the needle anywhere. Do you see that also?
Oh, so often. That's actually why I created the Productivity Flow. It's to help people really understand what productivity actually means. And so I think it's super common for people to confuse being busy as being productive. But in reality, being productive is being in a state of mind. And it means that you have clear intention and motivation. It means that you're focused and you don't have distractions. And it means that you have sustained and easy effort, or flow, as I like to call it. And you're moving the needle forward, just like you said, towards something. You're building something. Now, a lot of people say, well, this task isn't building anything. It's just a task I have to do, or just a thing that has to get done. Take a step back and realize, no, you are building something. It may not be something grand and stellar like that, but it is building something. And so reframing productivity in that way is a really good starting place to kind of start pivoting your productivity as a whole.
And I'm sure it's so good just mentally for our confidence, our self-esteem, our mindset, when we feel like some of the, even the mundane tasks, when we see them as productive, like you're building a meal for your family, you're building a pile of clean laundry or whatever it is, that, like you said, they don't always have to be grand things, but I'm sure the impact of just thinking of it from that more empowering perspective can then have such a domino effect.
Absolutely. And I think I love what you said, empowering perspective, because that's really the goal of how I work with my clients, is to create that empowering perspective. And I think once you can look at everything that you do, from folding laundry to cooking dinner to strategizing your next business venture, everything that you do really can fall into the three pillars that I mentioned of productivity, where it's clear motivation, focus, and flow. That can be involved within anything that you do.
Yeah. And I think the other part too, to pull back to the busy versus productive, when it comes to productivity, busy can be constant and nonstop for like 6-7 hours, where productivity is at its most powerful when I was reading this book called The Sweet Spot, and they said 2 hours or so a day of like really productive work or activity or something like that is really where we find that joy and happiness. Because this book was talking about like even like people in retirement, they think I'll just do absolutely nothing, where that's actually worse for you than having that purpose every single day.
Absolutely. I think purpose is really the key to being productive. And when you can clarify what your motivation for doing really anything is, it not only just makes it easier to do, but it really incites motivation. And like it creates this desire to want to do it, because you're looking more at the big picture. And like you said, at the impact. And I think that really is a key of productivity that society as a whole is kind of missing out on. So I definitely love what you said also about just kind of looking at what is my purpose really in doing this task and taking that step back.
Yeah. And I think too, looking at kind of the way we structure it is where then kind of how it fits into our day. If someone was looking at their day and they're like, I try and be productive, but then this happens or this happens. I think, how do you help somebody kind of stay focused on their purpose to be productive when there can be so many life distractions?
Oh, there are so many distractions. And that's why the first thing I always do with my clients is clarify what their vision is. So I think visualizing is one of the most underutilized tools that our brain has, because it really just develops a roadmap within our brain that we don't even know is happening, but it kind of just creates the how for you. And so whether it's let's say you're either creating a business or you need to routinize some housework stuff, either way, you can create a vision for what that looks like and what succeeding it feels like. And it really just creates these reasons why. And when you have the why, the how just somehow just fits into place. It's kind of like magic in the world, in the universe working in your favor. It just really does always work out that way. And that's really because of the visualization point. So I think definitely always clarifying again your motivation, intention, and visualizing it and visualizing the impact that you'll have can really spark that.
No, I love that, because I think a lot of times we don't see how it's going to work out. And that makes it hard to actually know what actions to take, how to think about it, what to approach. And when you visualize it, it probably does make it so much more tangible and real, which is, I know, just a good way for us to operate sometimes, or not that it's a good way, but it's how we seem to operate best, is like, what can I tangibly take away?
Absolutely. And I think just also utilizing the way that our brain works too is really important. So we think in stories, we think, in plot points really. And so when you can visualize essentially your future story, it kind of makes it a little bit more real and tangible. And then it also just incites that motivation to actually get there. And then after you do that visualization, a really key part too is to not get overwhelmed by it, because a lot of the time you'll visualize something into the future. And, whether it's you finish the task and it's 30 minutes into the future, or you create a business and it's 5 years into the future, either way, you should always break it down. So whatever vision you do have, start small and work backwards and see, okay, how can I get there? And then how can I get there? And then how can I get there? And really work backwards and make it into baby steps. So that way it's absolutely manageable, not just within your day-to-day life and all the chaos that's happening, but also mentally.
Yeah, that scaffolding can definitely kind of lighten the load of a bigger
Mhm.
task, because I think when we look at the bigger picture, that's where we can procrastinate. We get stuck. We kind of think, okay, it has to be perfect and look exactly like that finished picture versus those small little micro steps.
Totally. We can definitely get really narrowed in on the nitty gritty details sometimes that don't actually affect the impact of the bigger picture. And so that's like a good question that I like to ask my clients too is this detail going to completely shift what happens? If it's a yes, then yeah, let's talk about it. Let's, dive into it deeper. If it's a no, then let's not spend our energy on it because it clearly isn't going to matter at the end of the day.
Awesome. So just personally, for yourself, what are some of the things that you do to help stay focused, to stay your most productive? Because I know everyone has their own kind of different routines and tricks and habits, that type of thing.
Absolutely. So I adore my workday startup ritual. And it's essentially just a series of tasks, kind of like a workflow, you can think of it, of tasks that I do every single morning in order to get myself in the mindset of work. And so what I do is I go on a walk and then I do 20 minutes of reading and then I meditate for 15 minutes. And then I do one or two tasks that are just super quick and very like fast, quick wins. So that way I feel the momentum starting. And then I'll always dive into a deeper, heavier task. So just having that system in place and sitting at my desk every single morning and knowing exactly what I'm going to do really sparks motivation and productivity for not just my morning, but also my entire day, since it really sets me up for success. So I absolutely love rituals from my workday startup to my midday with my breaks to my workday shutdown to my weekends. I love rituals.
No, I do too. Like, especially my nighttime routine, like to really help
Mm-hmm.
my body and mind know that I am getting ready for sleep, getting ready for bed. It helps me shut down, and the consistency of it, even if the length has to vary, maybe I'm out a little bit later. So I might, shorten how much I read, shorten my skincare routine. I'll still do all of it, but maybe not that extra step. But the consistency is probably where
Totally.
the quality comes from.
Absolutely. Consistency is definitely where the quality comes from because it builds confidence and it also builds habits. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, when we can habitualize self care, that is a major win. And I think self care plays into productivity a lot more than we think,
Mhm.
since, like I said earlier, being productive is being in a state of mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're preaching to the choir over here. So, how much does time management play a role then into productivity as well? Because I think a lot of times people think productive is based on how long they spend doing something. And if it does or doesn't, what are some of the strategies then you use to help people with that?
Yeah, so time management is definitely a large part of productivity. But another part of that I think a lot of people skip over is energy management. And I think they
Ooh.
really go hand in hand.
Mhm.
So, as a human, you naturally have an internal clock. We kind of have heard of early birds get the worm and then night owls stay up a little bit later. That's just how you function naturally, which means that your brain has peak moments of the day when it's the most energetic, and it has low moments in the day when it's not as energetic. And so, understanding when those moments are helps you time manage better because then you can align your highest energy with your largest and heaviest tasks and your lowest energy with your lighter and easier to do tasks. And so when you can combine time management and energy management to be the same thing, that is really when you will boost your productivity beyond belief.
No, I love that you combine those two. That's fantastic because I don't think enough people think of it that way, but it makes so much sense, especially hearing you're like, of course, why, for me, like 2 o'clock after lunch is when I could probably take a nap if I was able to. So that's never the time I should be planning to, dive in and do some harder work or something where I really have to think. That's probably a good time to fold laundry or, do something that's not as taxing.
Absolutely. And then when you can align your tasks with your energy, you get your tasks done so much faster and it's so much easier to do the tasks because you actually have the energy and the mindset and the focus to do the task effectively. So it's really a hand in hand and like it makes the heavier tasks a lot easier to do, but it also just makes your energy last so much longer throughout the day because you're not trying to force energy when you don't have it.
Yeah, definitely. And along the same lines of just like productivity is kind of an underutilized form of self-care, I always feel like gratitude is also just not
Oh,
talked
yes.
about enough when it comes to self-care. And so I always ask my guests, what are some of the things that you would say you're the most grateful for?
Oh, I love that so much. I actually fill in a daily gratitude journal where I write one line a day
Ah,
about what I'm grateful for because I think I so agree. Gratitude is such an underutilized, especially for productivity. It's actually shocking what gratitude can do for it.
mhm.
But something I am super, super grateful for is the fact that I have coaching clients and that I'm able to build the productivity flow and have this business. I am so grateful that I've been given this opportunity. And then the second thing I am grateful for is this amazing third cup of coffee that I had today because it is a Wednesday and I definitely, definitely needed it. And
No.
then the third thing that I'm grateful for is my dog Madonna because she's my little angel, my little saint.
Ah, what kind of dog?
She's a Shih Tzu mix.
Oh, very cute. I have a Cavapoo. I love talking dogs.
Oh, love it. I love talking dogs. I could do it all day.
So where can people find you, Emily, and how can they work with you?
Yeah, for sure. They can find me at theproductivityflow.com. I have my coaching programs on my website. You can also check out my blogs and get a bunch of free tools to execute all the tips in my blog. And then you can sign up for my text messages where I will text you weekly productivity tips.
Awesome. And are you on social media anywhere they can follow you?
I am. I just started my Instagram actually. So the
Oh,
productivity flow on Instagram. I would love some new followers. Help a girl out. And
awesome. I'm
then you can
definitely one
always
of them.
and then you can always find me on LinkedIn and TikTok as well.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me today. I am so excited to like re-listen to this episode myself as well and start taking some of these tips and using them also.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was truly so fun to chat with you.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.